Hi guys, in today's review is a model I've been eagerly watching for a while, and this model is by Rapido Trains UK, and as you can tell it's quite a small model, and this is the North Eastern Railway H class. The product code you need for this one is 932001. It was announced November the 26th, 2022, and it was released November 2024, which is a good turnaround. 2 years, I say 2 years roughly, is what a model takes to get from the computer to the shops. This one is it's era 2, which is pre-grouping. Number of the loco is 24, and as you can tell, it's a very small locomotive. It's a stock shunt basically. Like I said, I've been anticipating this for a while, been really looking forward to it. So let's get into the review and see what it's all about, and is it any good. So with this model you do get a bag of details and a manual or instruction for your loco. Let's start with the bag of instructions you get. As you can see, it's in a sealed bag, so you can reseal if you want to. Nothing in there really seems painted, but I'll go through what's in there. If I've got anything wrong, I do apologise. So you should have scaled chain couplers ×2. Should have dumb buffers ×4 for the front and the back. You have a tank front handrail ×2, front steps ×2, brake linkage, 4 shunters poles. Some of the models have a curve in the buffers where you would put them. Don't think this one does. And then you also have the fireman tools, so the shovel and stuff like that. They are all in this bag, but they are not painted. They are for the users to do as they will or won't. So let's turn on to the manual itself. The manual itself on the first page, I'll just pick out some of the highlights, is the history and contents of the manual or book that you get. And it tells you what pages to turn to. On the next page you get about running in and unboxing your model. Running in, it said it's been operated at the factory for 30 seconds for testing. It also tells you don't immediately try to pull a 12 coach train or something like that. You have to bed it in. I think it's 45 minutes each way depending on your preference. Then on the next page you get your accessories and where to add them, and also the chain links as well and how to do it. Then we have a bit about servicing your model. If you look at the last photo of the model on this page, it is a split chassis. Unfortunately, that's the way Rapido have done it. The J70 was split and so was the Dapple or Fawn Leslie, so let's see how it gets on. Also tells you about controllers as well, what sort of controllers you need to use. They recommend anything that's not older than 30 years old, and it then lists a load of stuff that you need to do. And the page after that is about taking the shell off the model. Rapido have got this wrong in the instructions. So on the picture now, there should be 4 screws highlighted where to take it off, and you undo them. But there should also be another screw underneath, I think it's the front coupler, and then you pull a clip out, I think, and that releases the shell. That's the clip bit, is the bit that Rapido have missed in the manual. And all the other stuff is about sound fitted, which I don't really do. It does say 5-box glow. You don't have a 5-box glow on analog. There's nothing at all. Then at the back we get about warranty and parts list. They have an exploded diagram with a QR code if you want to do a better look. As we now move on to the front of this very tiny locomotive. So this does have the couplers already applied to the front and back of the locomotive. We also have some guard lines to knock stuff off the tracks. As we move on up a little bit, we do have metal sprung buffers front and back. Again, it's a premium model, so it should have premium touches like that. There's a few riveting around the buffer shanks. The buffer shanks themselves and the buffers are red. The buffer beam itself does have something, it's white and black lining around the outside, and it also has around the hook. The hook itself is in black, but I think it is metal. We also have the number on the buffer beam as well, and the classification. The classification is the H class under the pre-grouping company, and this is number 24 in the correct font. As we move on up a little bit more, we do have 3 lamp irons in the usual places. We also have some valves either side of the smoke box door. They have been picked out in gold. We do have the hinges and the smoke box door wheel picked out in a grey or a silver. There's a small handrail. I think there's another lamp iron at the top, and then we have the separately applied chimney. Most of it's in black, as you can see, and it looks wonderful. I can now move to the side of the locomotive. Both sides of the locomotive to me are exactly the same. I couldn't find any differences. Let's talk about the livery first. The livery of this locomotive is in Saxon green. I believe it's in the North Eastern Railway green house colours. We have some lining on the tanks. I think it's like an Indian red, white and black. We also have some boiler banding as well, which is white, black and white. You have the initials of the company on the tanks. Again, it's initials of LNER. We do have inside motion. If you look closely enough, you can see it. And there's a bar going across as well. I'm 99% sure the boiler or the tanks are metal. The inside motion does carry on through, which I'll show you later. We have a fine handrail going around what's left of the boiler because it's quite a small locomotive. We also have some lining, I think, on the running board as well. As we move on down, this is a Wurzel design. And as you can tell, this is a small wheelbase. It's an 040. We have 9-spoked wheels, which is correct for this locomotive. They also do a 10-spoked wheel, if I have that correct. We have a nice shiny red rod in the centre. We have some sanding parts and brake shoes, all seem to be separately applied. If you look closely enough between the wheels, again, you can see the inside motion that Rapido have moulded into the model showing through, which I think is a wonderful touch. Quite a lot of detail in here. We also have some Indian red steps, I want to say. I think they might have lining on as well. We also have some parts or holes for other parts of details that are in the bag if you wanted to add them. Like I said, some do have a curve in the buffer for the fireman's poles or shunter's poles. This one, I believe, doesn't. There is some lining around the cab area itself. There's no window because it's so small. There's no window on this side or any side, just on the front and the back. Again, if you look closely, you can see some wood flooring. I'll get onto the cab detail in a minute. As we now move on to the part that most people look forward to in a modern day review, and that is the cab detail. The cab detail is astonishing. We have wood flooring going on, which is in a brown livery. We also have some glazing for the front windows or spectacles. I think that is flush. We have everything in there that should be picked out is picked out. And if you look closely enough in some of these photos, there is a bulb in there, but like I said, on DC ready, which I am, sadly, it won't going to work for the glow. It's only for people who do DC fitted and sound, which is a little bit of a letdown. You pay for a premium model, has all this detail, and then it doesn't work for analog people, basically. It's my only one gripe with the detail. Like I said, most things in there are picked out and it looks wonderful. There's even the back view, which you can see through, and it shows all of the cab detail off superbly, which is correct for this type of model. As we now move on to the back of the locomotive, before I describe the detail, you may have noticed there's nowhere on here for a coal bunker or the coal's been mentioned at all. That I will get onto in a minute. We do have the coupler already applied, like I said. We also have some guard irons as well. We have metal sprung buffers, again, like the front. We have the buffer beam and shanks in red, but the buffers themselves do have some lining, again, like the front. There's a few rivets around the buffer shanks. We have lining around, I believe, which is the hook. Again, if you wanted to add the chain, you can. It's in the detail bag. You can also add the dumb buffers too. They're in the detail bag as well. So there's detail parts for that to go on if you wanted to do it. I believe we also have the number and class again, if I got that correct. My eyesight's not great on this small locomotive. As we move on up, we have the lamp irons. Well, 3 in the usual places. We also have some of this wonderful lining around the back, which is Saxon green with, I think, I want to call it Indian red, with white and black lining. Again, it just looks wonderful. We also have a lamp iron in the top centre of the back as well. Below that, we do have, I think, a number, which is 24. If you look closely enough, you can see right through to the cab because it's so small. Depending on your model, depending on what version you get of the back, some are different. Rapido have tooled up for several variants of this model everywhere you look. So this also gives you another close look at the cab. Also, the roof does overhang, which again is correct for this H-class. As we now do a top-down view on this locomotive. Let's start with the roof. On the roof, you do get a bit of ribbon and it is in black. We also have the whistle, which I believe is metal. And this type of whistle is a bell-shaped whistle. Again, like I said, I think it's metal. It looks great. If you look down the side on one of the tanks, you do have a tiny little bit of coal. It is so tiny. I have seen videos of these actual locos in real life with coal on their roof and all along everywhere. So we do have coal. We also have, on the tanks, we also have the water filler caps as well. You do get some safety valves. These don't look too bad. I think these are plastic, and this is a ram's bottom safety valve, which I believe was a London North Western design. We have some more lining, we have some metal handrails going around. We come to a gold band at the end of the boiler where the chimney is. And if you look down the chimney, I don't think you can put a smoke unit, I think it's blocked. But again, this is a separately applied piece, and then you come to the buffers. Like I said, there's not really much to look at, but it is quite a highly detailed model. Everywhere you look, I'm seeing something different each time. And finally, we come on to the underneath of this model. So underneath of this model, you do have the brake rigging already applied. You also have the couplers at either end. I believe it's the back gear that is geared, so the one nearest the cab. Again, to get the base keep off, there's 2 screws to take off, and in there it is a split chassis. I'm not a fan of them, but I've had some in the past and they've worked okay. If you want to take the shell off, like I said at the start, there's 4 screws to take off, and then I think you have to take off the front coupler, and there's a clip. You have to push that clip, and the shell should release. It is a tight fit, but it should release. It doesn't say in the instructions. Rapido have admitted they've got it wrong. If you look closely between the 2 wheels, like I said at the side views, you can see some detail parts in there, some motion, and even from the underside you can see it again. There is brake shoes and there is sanding gear as well. Everything does line up. Everywhere, like I said, everywhere I look, I keep seeing more and more details, and at the back we do have the steps for the cab. I think this picks up through the axles because it's a split chassis, there's no copper strips. So yeah guys, that's it on the tracks. Next up will be a simple points test. There's no point me doing second radius because it's so small, it probably could do 0 radius or first radius if I'm being honest with you. It's so small. I am a bit worried about some of my points. They're not electrocuted, so the loco may stall because it's such a narrow wheelbase, and it probably does need a stair life, but yeah. So let's see the point test, shall we? Not bad. What we're looking at there, 30, not bad, and backwards. I've dropped the speed down a little bit. So yeah guys, it managed that point test a little faster than my liking, but at least it made it there and back. Next it will be some slow speed, and I'll find it a train to pull, and then I'll see you at the end with my opinions. So here goes. $20. Very smooth, gotta be honest with you, very smooth and quiet. That's not bad at 20, saying it's DC ready. Let's make it go a little bit faster. So yeah guys, that's the end of the running session and the review. Before I give my opinion and price, I'll tell you what it was pulling, and that was simply a brake van special because I don't have any Northeastern or Era 2 styled rolling stock at the point of recording. I think the closest I've got there is that LNER E-Toad with NE on, that's the closest I've got I guess, which is Era 3. So pricing on this little H-Class. From Rapido themselves, you are talking £144.95. Again, it seems a lot of money for something so tiny, but the amounts of details you get with it is fantastic. If you were to get it from a model shop, give or take, you're talking around £127. From your model shop, depending on delivery, depending on the model shop. I got mine from Tops Models, and I paid £133 exactly, which is basically in the middle of them two. Again, I don't mind paying that sort of price for a family-run business, an independent business. So my opinion on the model, if I'm honest with you, I'm one point a little disappointed that it hasn't got any flickering firebox, even though it's in there. That's my only little disappointment. I know it's a gimmick, but they put it in there for anything with sound and DCC fitted, but not for analog, which I think is a bit biased. That's just my opinion. And the only other issue that I have is split chassis. Still not convinced on split chassis designs. Like I said, if Hornby can do a W4 split chassis, non-split chassis, and even the Rocket was non-split chassis, then what's the benefits you get from them? I don't know, but it's my opinion. A review is my opinion. I did have one issue, and it's not a major issue, it's just an issue. One part of my track, which is the corner by the signal box, every 1 or 2 laps it would come uncoupled to the guard fan, but the NEM pocket couplers would all stay intact on both. That was my only issue. I just turned the guard fan around and solved that issue, but it may happen to some of yours. And the couplings weren't loose or anything, they were snug in the pockets or in the triangle bits of the NEM pockets. But for me it happened, and it did get on my nerves. But like I said, I just turned it round and it solved that issue. My only other issue, occasionally it wouldn't go backwards. So when it come uncoupled, I'd run it backwards to go. It wouldn't move backwards. They are my only 2 issues really I had. But you get tons of detail. They've done a wide range of liveries and variants to the model. Again, £133 I'm going to say. Again, for something so small, does seem like quite a lot of money. But it's a highly detailed one. They've gone to town on it. Nothing on this fell off. Nothing on it doesn't work. It all works. It ran smoothly. It managed the points, which did surprise me. It was a little fast, but it managed the points. And as you saw on several videos going around, or clips, it did manage to go across the points. Again, no issues. Could it have been improved? That's down to someone's opinion. Like I said, for me, just getting the glow to work for analog people and non-split chassis, that's my gripe. That's my only gripe I have. But like I said, my J70 and my Dapple Hawthorne Leslie are both split chassis, and they run perfectly fine. Does it need to stay alive in for analog people? Possibly, if you can do that, I don't know. Possibly might need one. I am sure it has a flywheel. I've looked at someone's video and it has a flywheel, which is impressive if it does. I haven't got the balls to take mine apart like some people because I am pretty heavy-handed due to health issues. So for me, is it a thumbs up? It is for me because I like pre-grouping liveries, locos, and I'm a big fan of the LNER, and that ticks all the boxes for me. It's just so lovely. That was my take on the Rapido H-Class 040 Dock Shunter. If you find this review useful, please give it a thumbs up. I don't normally beg for thumbs up. Please give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Please take care and goodbye.